This is Personal Injury Court.
Good day, everyone. This is the matter of Roberts versus Clark. It's my understanding, Ms. Roberts, that you are suing Ms. Clark for injuries your daughter sustained in her laundromat. You are asking this court to award you $8,000 for past medical expenses for your daughter, $2,000 for future medical expenses, and $150,000 for emotional distress, for a total of $160,000. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Clark, you own this laundromat?
Yes, Your Honor.
And your position here, based on what you filed with this court, is she should have watched her kids. This is her fault.
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
Thank you, ma'am. Now let's get into the legal sauce. Ms. Roberts, tell me how you got to be at this laundromat this day.
Well, I'm a single mom. I live in this very small apartment. They don't have a laundromat, so that's why I come here.
How many children do you
I
have?
have 2.
These are your babies here?
Yes.
I should have had
Gina's
girls.
the one on the right side, and Rochelle's the one on the left side. We bake together. We sleep next to each other.
I think the most fun I've ever had in my life is being a parent. So
Yes.
I can definitely get with you on that.
I love it. They're my girls. They're my everything. I will do anything for them.
So why this laundromat? Had you been there before?
Yes, I always go there. We don't have a laundromat at our apartment, so they came with me that Saturday morning.
So, Ms. Clark, how long have you had this laundromat?
I'm a third-generation owner. My grandfather started this business over 60 years ago.
Now, in the laundromats that I've been in as a kid, they were packed on Saturdays.
Yes.
People waiting to use the machines. Is that how yours has been?
We stay relatively full on the weekends mostly, yes.
So, Ms. Roberts, tell me what happened on the day in question.
Okay, so I was folding my laundry. My kids were coloring, and
Are they near you, or are they somewhere else?
yes, they're like 15 feet away.
Okay.
So I was
More like
folding my
25,
clothes.
Judge.
I was folding my clothes, and they were coloring, and all suddenly Gina gets up, and she starts climbing into one of the washing machines, and it happened within 5 seconds. So at the time I got up, my other daughter, she pushed the door, and then it locks. I mean, within
You
5
must have been
seconds.
frightened.
I mean, it was horrible because it locked.
Yes, ma'am.
And I tried to pull it, and it locked completely. So the water started coming down.
Was your little girl looking at you?
Yes, she started crying, and my other daughter started crying, so I started
I know this was bad.
freaking out because
I can imagine all she wanted was her mommy at that point.
Yes, it's because
What are
of
you
the-
doing at this point?
I'm trying to pull her. I'm trying to push buttons, and nothing. I started screaming for help. Help! Somebody help my baby because she's gonna die.
So-
She never came out, and I thought she was gonna die because I saw the water going over her head, and then it started rocking, and then.
Now, Ms. Clark, you can see that this had to be frightening for any parent,
It
any
would have
mom.
been frightening for me, Your Honor. I'm a mother and a grandmother both.
Now, were you there this day?
Yes, I was.
How did you know that something had gone wrong?
When I heard a scream, and I had seen the kids running around throughout, and I was thinking to myself, why is she corralling these kids? Because they're running around. Everybody else's kids is having to.
Yeah, but you don't understand that my daughter
over in the
could've been
kids' area,
killed.
and
She could've
before
died
I
that
knew
day.
it, like she said, it happened suddenly. But as she just told you, she saw it when it was taking.
But I would imagine,
you
though,
never came
I
out.
would imagine in any laundromat where moms come with their babies, moms and dads, that kids, 3- and 4-year-olds,
Yes,
they
and
know
that-
nothing but energy, right?
Yeah, but that's all the more reason why you should keep an eye on your kids.
Now,
I'm
you
sure they
agree
have
with
more
that.
Energy and
You agree with that, don't you, Ms. Roberts?
In the home.
This happened within 5
Ms.
seconds.
Roberts? You agree with that, though. You should watch your babies, right?
I was watching my baby.
I know you're washing clothes. I understand that. I certainly
yes, but
do.
this happened within 5 seconds. By the time I got there, it was locked.
So once the door closed, you said water was coming down?
Water was coming down. Within 2 minutes, it started rocking. And I couldn't even pull it because it locked out.
So she's in the washing machine, this is happening, and then there's water coming down on her head?
So
This
she
is a
starts
nightmare.
screaming.
It is a nightmare,
This
Your
is
Honor,
horrible.
but as
It
she
was-
just said, Your
she
Honor,
was
she
just
saw her
screaming.
baby
I thought she was
climbing
gonna
on the
die.
washing machine. She could have said something at that point. Your Honor, it is
She
not
was
our
so
fault.
scared.
We have a kids area where we ask them and we make an announcement for you to keep an eye on your kids, and please, if at all possible, make sure you stay in that area.
Those-
How
Separate.
far is this kids area? Tell me about this kids area. You got a TV and toys,
Well,
that
we
kind
have
of
we
stuff?
have some we have TV, we have the soda machines, we have different little toys, little building blocks and things, the chairs, the size for the kids.
So is it fair to say that your laundromat is fit for moms and kids?
Yes, it is.
Ah,
Working
no, it's
moms and
not.
kids.
Yes,
Your
it
Honor?
is.
No, it's not. This
So,
area
Ms. Roberts-
is so small. If you see a picture of it, it's so small.
Well, it's about 25 feet, 20 feet between the kids' area and the whole laundromat area. And it is.
And this is the kids' area?
That's the kids' area.
That doesn't look like it's going to have a whole lot of kids there, right?
The washing machine, it's about 15
Well, you
feet.
could have a few, you could have...
If this is going to work the way you want it to work, tell me how this happens. Do parents just put their kids over there and go back to washing clothes?
They do.
And leave their kids over here?
Periodically, they come and check on their children, but they can see them. As she said, she saw her child when she first started to climb on the wash machine, and her other child was with her. At that point in time, knowing how rowdy her kids have been, I would have said, even if I was folding clothes, I'd stop folding my clothes.
So, Ms. Roberts, I see the pain on your face. Tell me what happened to your little girl. Was she hurt?
Yes, she was
How
hurt.
was she hurt? Tell me about her injuries.
When she got locked in there,
Yes, ma'am.
the water started filling.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
then when it started rocking, this other guy came and he helped me. He grabbed a fire extinguisher, and then he said, I'm gonna have to break it.
And did he break the glass?
Yes,
And it got your baby out?
yes. I mean, thanks to him, not for her.
Now, I see
Because she
that
could die.
I see that your daughter had $8,000 in past medical expenses. Tell me about those injuries.
Well, her arm is broken.
Okay,
And she
ma'am.
had bruises all around her shoulders because
Yes,
of the rocking of the machine. And then she had a cut right over her eyes.
Okay.
And I also have some pictures just to show you.
Sheriff Matt, if you retrieve those pictures, and thank you, ma'am, for providing those.
Yes, Your Honor.
So this is your little girl's arm here,
Yes.
and this is her left arm.
Yes, her left arm.
Was she frightened about all these bandages and things on her?
Yes, it's horrible. She was crying. She was so scared what happened. She won't even take a bath anymore. She won't even go to the swimming pool.
Now, see this this abrasion, where is that on
it's
her
right
body?
over here on the right side.
So she banged her shoulder up,
Yes,
too?
Your Honor.
Okay. I see this incision here. Where is that on her body?
It's right over here.
Okay, so she had a cut on the inside of her right arm, too?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I see there's a cut by her eye. Is that how her eye looked?
Yes.
So she had to get stitches in that eye?
She did.
At 3 years old?
Yes. She got 10
You can imagine, Miss
stitches.
Clark, this is a bad deal for this little girl, right?
She hasn't been the same.
Your Honor, I do agree that the child's injury is
You
bad
remember
to
when
see.
your
It's
kids
hard
were
to
little
see.
kids?
Yes, of course I do, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Of course I do. But my thing is, Your Honor, that is not my fault how this child got injured. If her mother, had been more responsible as a parent to look out for her child, this wouldn't have happened.
How come you didn't unplug it?
The wash machines that we have are on a line. You can't unplug one.
Okay, and how do you operate them? People aren't plugging and
they're
unplugging
operated
them.
by a corn slot, and I had a sign on the machine that says broken in English and in Spanish.
Okay. Now,
Okay.
how would a 3-year-old be
Yeah.
able to read that?
It's not for the children to read.
Okay.
They have an area for them. When the parents see, if it was my child, and I saw that there was a faulty something on there, my first thing would be, and y'all stay away from that one.
Miss Roberts described her little girl getting into this washing machine, and it starts rocking.
Actually, you didn't have to put any money in it. That was the problem. You're supposed
were
to pay to wash,
unaware?
but it just washed on its own. It wasn't working properly, and that's the reason why we had to get it repaired, because it was washing without any money.
Now, Miss Roberts, you can see that sign that was on the front of this washing machine, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you see it that day?
I didn't see it that day. But if
Okay.
I would have seen it, I mean, I would have at least, I would have washed my clothes there if I could have used it without coins. You know what I'm saying?
Now, let me circle this apparatus on the top.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about this. Is that where they put the coin?
Yes, sir, it
Now,
is.
that was one of the things that was broken.
That's the main culprit that was broken. I have a work order here, Your Honor, if you'd like to see it.
Yes, ma'am. Sheriff Matt, if you'll retrieve that from Miss Clark.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for providing this.
Yes, sir.
It says repair commercial washer operates without taking coins.
Exactly.
And then you've got a diode replacement,
Right.
and then a coin slot replacement mechanism.
Right. That's so that we can operate the machine.
So even the coin receptor was wrong, or at least not
That's
working
correct.
properly.
Wasn't working properly, and that's the reason why we had to get it repaired.
Do you rent that, or do you own it like you do the
own
washing
that too.
machine?
We own that and had to put it on top of there so that we could make it a commercial washer.
So this washing machine and the coin receptor, they're kind of your babies.
Yes, they are, sir.
You own them.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I did want to mention, Your Honor, we have never had anything like this happen in my laundromat in all of the years that I've been there. my father or my grandfather, we've never had any incidents because we're very careful. We care about our customers. We do our best to make it a pleasant environment.
Yes,
Your
ma'am.
Honor, I feel for this little girl. I would want nothing like to happen to anybody's children, my children, anybody.
Do you hear that, Miss Roberts?
I hear it, but I don't believe it because you never came out when that happened.
I did come
When
out.
I was
She's a
screaming,
grandmother.
you never came
That's
out.
why I came out. I
Ladies,
scream.
we're going to have order in this court.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor.
So, Ms. Roberts, I want to understand Gina's injuries from a medical perspective. I've consulted Dr. Eddie Richardson. So, Sheriff Matt, will you go get Dr. Richardson? Hello, doctor. Come on in, make yourself comfortable. Thank you, sir.
Your Honor?
Okay, Dr. Richardson, can you please explain Gina's injuries?
Yes, this sustained injuries of multiple abrasions and bruises, as well as a fracture to the left forearm, a compound radial fracture that she sustained probably from the tumblets inside of the wash machine.
For folks that are not doctors, what is a radial fracture?
A radial fracture, you have two bones in your wrist and your arm, the ulnar and the radius is the one that comes down particularly closest to your thumb. As it was tumbling, there's a possibility that the arm was outstretched and it came back, because that's a very fragile bone in that arm.
Did any of her wounds come from the glass breaking?
From the jagged edge, those were probably from the glass. Now, the abrasions that she had suffered on her shoulder were more than likely from the inside of the wash machine.
From
that she
getting
was
tumbled around in
Tumbled
there?
around, yes.
What is it from emotional perspective for a little kid like this?
You bring up a very good point, Your Honor. That's probably one of the most substantial because she probably suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, a PTSD you've heard.
For a 3-year-old?
Yes. And you can imagine being closed in a closed-in space, which is going to be manifested as claustrophobia and anxiety as she was closed in this space, as well as the water coming in on her. Without counseling, she may suffer long-term anxieties and phobias and separation. That would affect her mind because at 3 to 5 years old is when kids are developing their personalities and their coping mechanisms.
It's an important time.
Exactly. So now you've interrupted that with a very traumatic experience.
Thank you, doctor. We appreciate you. You are now released.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Roberts, you've heard the description from the doctor's perspective. What's it been like with Gina after this incident?
I mean, it seems like an eternity because we used to do things together. I mean, she cannot play ball. She cannot play with her Barbies.
You should have been watching your kids, hon.
Yeah, you were not there. And,
I was
and the
there.
washing
I keep
machine
telling
was
you, I
only
was
15
there. I was in
feet
the
away.
office. I came
yeah,
out.
you were not there, okay?
I came
and
out.
I was folding
came
clothes.
out when
Why, you
I
want to
heard
come and
you.
fold
So,
my
Ms.
clothes
Clark,
now?
in light of this little girl being injured,
Yes, sir.
you go right at it and say, well, you should have been watching your kids.
That's the whole thing, Your Honor.
But it seems like you're not thinking about Gina, though.
No, I am thinking about Gina. I'm not trying to be insensitive. I am sensitive to her, to the child's
But
injury.
I'm not
But,
seeing
Your
from
Honor,
you
Sir.
that you are showing some heart about this. A little girl was nearly killed in your laundromat.
Yes, sir.
But there's a moral kind of
I understand.
ethical
I
deal
understand,
here.
Your Honor,
I mean, y'all
I
could have.
understand, Your Honor. I understand, Your Honor.
Yeah, you don't care.
No, I do care.
You don't care.
I
So,
do
Ms.
care.
Roberts, as a parent, as a daddy of 3, my heart really goes out to you on this one.
Thank
As
you.
does mine, Your Honor.
You don't know what the future looks like. Ms. Clark, I'm glad you said that.
Yes, it does,
I am
Your
so
Honor.
glad you said
I know
that.
you don't believe me, but I do feel for this child.
You have a business, but you got a heart
I was
too.
almost crying with her while she was holding her child. I was the second one there, other than the guy with the fire
You didn't
extinguisher.
care.
Ladies,
Yes, sir.
I think I've heard enough. I'm
Yes,
ready
you
to
are.
render my decision. In every personal injury case, the plaintiff, someone who is in your shoes, has to prove that there was an injury and that that injury was caused by the defendant's wrongdoing. That is, the wrong caused injury. Here, the wrong is shared. Clearly, there was harm. Clearly, the harm was caused by the wrong, but the wrong was shared. That is, you all should have secured this washing machine so the child or an adult could not get it open, especially if there was a risk of it turning on once you close the door. You, on the other hand, you are a hard-working mom doing the most important job ever, but part of that job is to keep an eye on your children and to put them in the designated areas. So here I find that you are 60% responsible and you are 40% responsible for your daughter's injuries. In this case, you are seeking $8,000 for past medicals, $2,000 for future medicals, and $150,000 for the emotional distress that your daughter has gone through. In light of the fact that you are 40% responsible for your daughter's injuries, I hereby award you 60% of what you are seeking, which is $96,000. So I find in your favor and against Ms. Clark. That is my final verdict, and this matter is adjourned.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. James, it's my understanding you're suing Ms. Sutton for injuries that you sustained while you were at a music festival that Ms. Sutton put on. You're asking this court to award you $10,000 for your past medical expenses, $5,000 for future medical expenses, $20,000 for lost wages, and $250,000 for pain and suffering, for a total award of $285,000. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Sutton, your response to this is very simple. If he had left the music festival when everybody else did, he never would have been hurt, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, let's get into the legal sauce. What brings you to a music festival?
I'd recently won a contest via the radio that granted me a ticket along with a backstage pass
Okay.
for a meet and greet VIP after the concert had ended. So I drove separately to meet up with my friends and stayed about an hour and a half after the concert before I was preparing to leave.
Okay. Now, Ms. Sutton, you put on music festivals.
Yes.
Tell me about them.
Sure. I've been in the music and entertainment industry for over 20 years. We do loads of outdoor festivals. They're always sold out. They're very popular. As a matter of fact, all the radio stations love them. And
All
we
kinds of
participate with
music?
them. Absolutely, all kinds of music. I oversee and I manage all of the logistics of the venue, the artists, the parking, and all the surrounding public areas.
So from the piano to the portable toilets, you manage it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're getting all kinds of people, but pretty much some of the things are the same. People have to use the bathroom, right, at a festival.
Absolutely, which we provide as a courtesy to our attendees.
Okay, you ever had a problem with your portable toilets before?
Never.
So, Mr. James, tell me how this happened.
Well, Your Honor, I was staying after the concert about an hour and a half. As anyone else would, he was granted a backstage pass. I was hanging out with the band, enjoying myself. Had a few drinks, yes, had something to eat. So as I was preparing to make the long ride home, I elected to use the restroom and a portable toilet that was placed right near the parking lot. As I entered the portable toilet and attended to my business, I was sitting on the toilet when all of a sudden I heard a truck fire up.
Okay.
And I'd noticed
you heard
this
the
truck.
engine of the truck.
Yes, sir, that is correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
Didn't think anything of it at the time. Figured they were leaving the premises, doing their job. Noticed it getting closer before I noticed a loud thud.
Okay.
Immediately knew it was occurring. Dreaded the situation as I saw it happening before my eyes. The portable toilet topped backwards, slamming into the ground. I immediately snapped my neck, whipping my head into the ground, which caused the concussion. I was covered in not only human waste, but also this blue chemical from the portable toilet. Head to toe, in my mouth, in my nose. It was mortifying. If you can only imagine, throughout the entire days of this festival, the entire night, you gotta think I was one of the last ones there with my backstage pass. The
toilet was full.
The amount of human traffic that had entered into that toilet before I entered in it. It makes me want to throw up just to imagine, as you can see. Constant human traffic in and out of there before I'd entered.
That's a lot of folks
That's correct.
and a lot of use.
That's correct.
I have to admit this. There have been times I've been in one of those portable toilets and I see that stuff down there and I say, what if you fell in there? I guess it's no longer hypothetical. This stuff was all over you.
This will be the last time I ever use a portable toilet in my life, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Sutton, obviously you want folks to use the portable toilet.
Yes, of course.
How do you protect against somebody pushing it over and knocking it over?
Well, we've never had that incident, and as you can see, they're situated on a level ground.
Okay.
I wasn't advised of the situation until about a half hour after it occurred, although it's very unfortunate that this happened to him, and we're extremely sorry, but we didn't do it.
Well, but this isn't his fault. You're not saying this is his fault. He was simply trying to make a deposit, right?
But was
Sounds
he?
like she is, Your
But
Honor.
was he? He was there long after that concert and the festival had ended.
So he talked about being there with the band. Why'd you stay so late?
No one told me I was supposed to leave the premises, Your Honor. I had no one warning me of any time I needed to leave. I had no one warning me that these portable toilets were in danger of using. So to my knowledge, they were there for the use of the customers, as they always were the entire day.
Well, doesn't most of the people leaving kind of give you a clue it's time to go?
I was enjoying myself.
Your Honor,
It's not every day you win a contest like this, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
I was using my right
However,
with this VIP backstage pass.
Your Honor, I've submitted
ma'am.
as an exhibit our concert schedule. It's our official schedule showing that the concert ended at midnight.
Yes, ma'am. Let's take a look
And
at it
this
here.
gentleman here, this incident took place at 2 a.m.
This is the concert call sheet, so people try to stay on schedule with this, right?
Yes,
So 11
absolutely.
p.m. is final set, and then 12 a.m., that is midnight.
Yes.
Wrap, strike venue. Is that when folks are supposed to leave?
Well, that's about when the meet and greet is, 15 minutes max. Those artists are tired. They played all night long. They do a quick picture of the handful of people that had the backstage pass, and they are out of there on their road. And by 2 o'clock, all my people are gone.
It was not 2 hours after the concert had ended. It was an hour and a half max, just so we're clear.
You do acknowledge, though, that you stayed quite a bit after midnight, right?
Not the time frame that she is exhibiting here. That is incorrect. No, that's not true. She's
Well,
lying.
what do you remember? How long did you stay?
It was an hour and a half max, Your Honor.
Okay, so
and like
that-
I said, no
that
one
takes
had
you
told
to
me I needed leave the
1:30, right?
premises. Correct.
Okay. Now, is it that weird that people stay an hour and a half, Miss Sutton?
Oh, absolutely, especially because our parking lot was 95% empty.
Well, 95% means that,
The other 5% was probably my employees and
Okay.
maybe him and his friends.
So tell me about your injuries.
Yes, Your Honor. On impact, I suffered whiplash and a severe concussion from my head smacking the ground. Along with being covered with this blue chemical, I was covered in human excrement, which gave me hepatitis A.
So some of this stuff got in your mouth and your eyes?
That
and
is, I was
things?
head to toe, Your Honor. Head to toe, completely covered, and I could not avoid hepatitis A, which has caused my skin and my eyes to turn yellow.
Yeah, your medical records that you submitted show that you were jaundiced and had quite an infection.
That's correct, Your Honor. I've been in severe pain since the incident. Aside from the neck brace, the hepatitis A has caused severe liver pain. My eyes, like I said, have been burnt yellow. My urine has turned the color of coffee, Your Honor.
Well, your medical records indicate that your internal organs were definitely affected.
That's correct.
So it sounds like, though, the hepatitis is worse than the whiplash.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Miss Sutton, a portable toilet getting knocked over, that is an odd event for one of your concerts, right?
Correct. But nonetheless, this is not our fault. He should not have been there at this time.
It's not your fault. That's your excuse? That is your excuse.
We
Talk
didn't
to
knock
me,
it over.
folks.
We have no idea who did it.
Well, it happened at your event.
Sure.
In one of your portable toilets. He clearly didn't do anything to knock it over.
I don't know
Your Honor,
who he
she
was
needs to take
involved-
responsibility for this, for
We
everything that's occurred to me.
We have parking attendants directing traffic 45 minutes after the concert ended. And as I stated, that parking lot was 95% empty when this happened.
Your Honor, I received no verbal, no sign warning that these portable toilets were in any danger of using.
Because they weren't.
If I had, I would not have used them.
You're asking this court to award you $250,000 for pain and suffering. What's been the worst part of this?
To be honest, I think that $250,000 is taking it easy. The worst part has been being covered in human excrement with my pants at my ankles. It was the most mortifying moment of my entire life.
Mr. James, you mentioned hepatitis A. To understand this disease, this court has consulted Dr. Asma Khalid. Sheriff, will you get Dr. Khalid?
Yes, Your Honor.
Hello, doctor. Will you please explain the nature of the disease that Mr. James contracted in this accident?
Hepatitis A is a virus that's highly contagious. It's usually spread person to person, fecal oral route, such as changing dirty diapers or handling contaminated foods. So the liver is located in the upper right quadrant of your abdomen. It's essentially a huge filtration system that takes blood from your body and filters it through the hepatocytes, which are liver cells. Blood passes through, takes foods and nutrients as well as toxins or bacteria and virus. Now, the hepatitis A virus passes through the blood, filters through the hepatocytes, But once it's inside the hepatocytes, it infects the liver cells and causes them to become inflamed. They obviously don't handle that very well, and you develop some scar tissue, causing the whole liver to become inflamed and enlarged.
So why does your skin get yellow?
It's basically called jaundice.
Okay.
And just like, a newborn has jaundice, and the hepatocytes release a chemical, and it basically spreads through your blood, causing your skin to turn yellow.
Doctor, thank you. You are released.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I can say with 100% confidence that Miss Sutton is 100% responsible for what happened to me.
Mr. James, how do you know that one of Miss Sutton's employees hit this portable toilet?
Your Honor, I have a diagram to explain how the incident occurred in the parking lot.
All right, well, let's put your diagram up on the plasma. You submitted that to the court. Why don't you go over and show me how you think this happened?
Upon entering the portable toilet, that these two trucks were placed right here before entering. As I did, I heard this truck fire up and then immediately begin to reverse back towards me.
How'd you know it was in reverse?
Circumstantial evidence,
The beep,
Your
and I could
Honor.
tell it was getting close to me, Your Honor.
This is hearsay.
It got louder and louder.
So that backup beep got closer to you?
Correct.
All right.
And it was before I could even put it together that all of a sudden, it hit this portable toilet, knocked it on its back, in which then I slammed into the ground following it.
This is
And
all
immediately was
circumstantial.
covered. Immediately was covered with human
He
excrement.
has absolutely no proof that it was one of my trucks or a truck at all.
Now hold on for a minute. These trucks weren't concert goers, right?
No.
They were production.
This wasn't a truckers' convention.
My production trucks were parked out in front, but towards closing, they began to leave.
So I kicked my way out, almost like my own coffin, Your Honor, covered in this waste, managed to pull my pants up and realized the truck was completely gone off the premises.
Now, for the record, Miss Sutton, all 6 of these trucks that were on that diagram are your production trucks, right?
Correct.
Driven by your employees, correct?
Correct. For all 20 years, we've been doing this and never had an issue. That's hearsay. You cannot have him have that photo in there. He has no idea that was one of our trucks.
I'm confident, Your Honor. Like I said, I distinctly remember 2 trucks being placed in front of the portable toilets. As I exited it, there was only one.
You can return to the podium. You keep throwing around the term circumstantial evidence.
Yes, because he's giving us evidence that he says, I know for a fact, without a fact.
Well, let me tell you about evidence. In a courtroom, there are really 2 kinds of evidence. There's direct evidence and then circumstantial evidence. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that circumstantial evidence is of a weaker, less reliable source. It is not. Circumstantial evidence is direct evidence that indicates a certain fact. For example, if a person walks through the snow and you see them walk through the snow, you can testify, I saw someone walk through the snow. That's direct evidence. However, if you go to that same snow and you see my size 13 footprints all the way up to my motorcycle and I'm sitting on the motorcycle, that's circumstantial evidence that I walked through the snow. They are of equal value.
There is no proof that I did. We have a natural barrier of our trucks placed out so no accidents like this would happen.
There was no natural barrier. There was no verbal, no sign warning me of any danger using these.
Park in front of the portable toilets to act as a shield, preventing anything to interfere with them.
I was covered in literal human because of her, Your Honor. Human waste and this blue chemical.
Be careful about your language. I understand what you're covered with, but we got to call it a different name. Folks, I think I've heard what I need to hear. I'm ready to render my decision. When I was a young lawyer, I used to think that lawsuits were simple, particularly personal injury lawsuits, because all the plaintiff has to prove is that someone did something wrong. That is, you'd have to prove Ms. Sutton did something wrong, or one of her employees, and that their wrong caused your injury. Hardly ever does it turn out to be simple in the many cases I presided over. But this one is simple. You're responsible for your employees' actions under a doctrine called respondeat superior. It simply means that the master must answer for the actions of the servant. Here, if your driver backed into that portable toilet, you pay the bill. Let's look at the evidence. We don't have direct evidence of who backed into this portable toilet, but the circumstantial evidence is this. While you're sitting in this portable toilet, you hear a truck engine fire up.
Correct.
That's a very distinct sound. You then hear the beeping, the reverse safety signal of the truck backing up, and it's getting closer to you. And your portable toilet flips over, and so does your life. That circumstantial evidence is superior weight of who backed into this portable toilet. I am convinced it was one of your employees that backed into this toilet. And because of that, I find in your favor, and I'm going to give you everything that you asked for. I'm awarding you $10,000 for your past medicals, $5,000 for your future medicals, $20,000 for your lost wages, and $250,000 for your pain and suffering, for a total award for you and against the defendant for $285,000. That's my final award, and this matter is adjourned.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Ricci, it's my understanding from the documents that you file with this court that you sustained injuries at Miss Gray's salon, and you're asking this court to award you medical expenses of $10,000, pain and suffering of $70,000 for a total award of $80,000. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Miss Gray, it's your position that you provided the service he requested, and this is not your fault. True?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, let's get into the legal sauce. Mr. Ricci, what brought you to Miss Gray's salon this day?
Well, Your Honor, as a software engineer, I don't really get the chance to meet a lot of women. I've been doing this for about 10 years, and I still don't have a ring or anything like that to show for it. I met this wonderful woman named Debbie, and we had been talking for a good long while. We've been texting, and it finally came down to the point where she not only wanted to go on a date, but she wanted to go on a trip. She wanted to go to the beach.
That's a truth or dare moment.
I was actually a little bit self-conscious about something that my friend Dave told me. He said that I had to do something about my organic sweater, so to speak, my body hair, Your Honor. I have a lot of it, and he said she'll think it's gross. I need to do something about it. So he knew of Miss Gray's establishment, and he set up the appointment for me.
So your friend told you needed a little manscaping to kind of clean up for this date and the beach appearance.
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Gray, tell me about your salon.
I am the owner of the Elizabeth Gray Salon. We specialize in facial and hair removal. I've been in business for about 10 years. We offer so many choices, from laser, which uses a beam of light, to electrolysis, which is electricity, to sugar waxing as well, which is we just rip it right off with a strip.
Okay.
So we offer a lot of choices. About 75% of my clients are women. However, in recent years, Your Honor, I've seen a lot of men coming in for some grooming, waxing some obvious places and not so obvious places.
So guys get more wax than their chest?
Exactly. Everyone likes a little grooming and look their best. I really believe, Your Honor, that if I can help not only women, but all people look beautiful, that inside it will help them feel better about themselves.
So when someone comes in for hair removal, particularly a man, you take it off where they want it taken off?
We do. We make sure that we go over every step with them.
So Mr. Ricci is not really any different from your other male clients who want their chest to be bare?
No, he is not.
So, Mr. Ricci, what happened?
They take me to this back room where there's no windows or anything and get me down to just my boxers and a robe. So the wax lady comes up to me and she asks, "What's your pain tolerance?" And I figured since my bud Dave could handle it, so could I, so I just said average. They started off with just one patch of skin, and it's one of those things where you just think that it'll get easier as it keeps going, and that just was not the case. They started off by getting this kind of like the stick and rubbing a little bit of the wax on one half of my chest.
Okay.
And then...
Now, it wasn't hurting yet, right?
It was already getting there, but I was just trying to bear through it.
Okay.
So she gets out the piece of paper and she presses into my skin. That's when I really felt like something was not right. She rips it off and a piece of my skin with it. And she just kept going over and over again until my skin just looked ravaged. It was bubbling, it was blistering. It did not seem like everything was all right. I asked the wax lady, "Is this supposed to be normal?" And she told me, "Quit being a baby, man up."
No.
It was a harrowing experience, Your Honor.
So this is what that wax did to your skin?
Yes, Your Honor, and it's still painful just standing here in this shirt.
Is that how this is supposed to work, Miss Gray? That sounds like a torture chamber.
No, Your Honor, that is not how it works at my salon.
Well, how is this supposed to work?
Well, at the time of this incident, I was in my office doing some filing papers, and one of my estheticians came running back to me, and she said she had provided a service to Mr. Ricci. He ran out of the salon without paying.
All she cares about is the
even
money. When I had to run to the ER
Your
for
Honor,
second-degree burns.
Our process at our salon.
But isn't this simple, though, that you put hot wax on the skin and you rip the skin off, then it's not supposed to be that way, right? Isn't it that simple?
Actually, it's not that simple.
Okay.
But we offer various choices to remove hair. And we tried to talk with Mr. Ricci. He did not want to hear it. He
Your
started
Honor, I was on my
waving his
lunch
hands
break. I was just
all
trying to get
around.
in, get out.
He
It's supposed to be
was
something
in
simple.
and out. That is not the process of our salon.
What options did you
We
get?
offer laser. That's when we use a beam of light. We offer electrolysis, using electricity to burn the hair follicle. Sugar wax, a substance over the subject where we use a strip to take off the hair in the opposite direction of hair growth.
So if he had used these other options, then he wouldn't have had these injuries?
Exactly. If he would have listened to what my esthetician was trying to tell him, but instead he would not.
Your Honor, it wasn't that I wasn't listening. It was that I was getting pulled into the appointment before I even had time to ask any real questions. You guys said, "Oh, we have a line. We have to get going, Mr. Ricci."
Did they
That
give
is
you
not true.
options?
No, Your Honor, they did not give me all the options.
Because you were not listening, Mr. Ricci.
If he doesn't understand the options, then it's pretty natural that he choose what you put in front of him, right?
And that's where he is not being forthcoming with the truth. We sat him down to make sure he understood his choices.
Okay.
And we offer many, as I've already stated. He would not listen. We even
But look at
tested.
his chest, Miss Gray. Hot wax, is it supposed to do that?
This is unfortunate, but however, we tested a patch of his skin with hot wax. He did not complain at all, Your Honor. He even said, "Oh, my tolerance level for pain is average."
What is your scale, the Spanish Inquisition?
And if he does not let someone know about if this hurts or doesn't hurt, how are we supposed to know?
No, I
He
didn't know I
has
had to
to
come up with
use
a
his
safe
voice.
word.
Anytime we deal with cases that involve a pain tolerance, it's always dangerous to compare women's pain tolerance versus men.
Exactly.
We're babies. Y'all have babies.
That is
okay?
right, Your Honor.
You've submitted $10,000 in medical expenses to this court. Please explain your injuries.
Not only did I experience second-degree burns, they ravaged and permanently scarred my chest for the rest of my life. A guy like me doesn't get too many chances with Debbies. And these people, this staff at Elizabeth Gray's Salon have permanently damaged any chances of ever meeting another Debbie for the rest of my life. This is what her staff did to me, Your Honor.
That looks like that hurts right now.
It feels like sandpaper every time I try to even move my arm.
Ms. Gray, you see, these are real permanent injuries.
He did not say anything that he was in any pain. He just kept silent. This is the first time
Kept
I'm
silent.
seeing
I was rolling
to this
around on the
extent.
table, panting, and I asked her, was this normal? Was this supposed to be happening? And she told me, man up, quit being a baby.
Mr. Ricci, I'm not as brave as you are. I've never had manscaping. So I've got to understand exactly how this happens from a technical standpoint. This court has consulted an expert esthetician, Miss Erin Renee. Sheriff, will you get Miss Renee from the hallway, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell the truth next time, Mr. Ricci.
Talk to me, folks. Good day, Miss Renee.
Hi.
How long have you been working as an esthetician?
I've been an esthetician for 14 years. I did bring a model because I wanted to show the process of hair removal with waxing. With the hot wax, all estheticians who perform this service always check the temperature of the wax before they start removing hair. And we check the temperature on ourselves by applying a little bit on the inside of our arm here. And that way, we know exactly what the client is going to be experiencing. So I'm applying the wax on the direction that the hair actually grows so that you're able to get all of the hair follicles out with one pull. I am always honest with my clients, and I try to understand their threshold for pain before we get started with the service. In his client intake form, he filled out all of the questions, and he said that his pain tolerance was pretty average, and he also said that he's not on any medications that would make his skin hypersensitive to the waxing.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it. Yes. So you'll feel it.
Now, I'm seeing his reaction. He's got tears in his eyes. Mr. Robbins, thank you for coming in here. How did that feel?
It hurt.
Miss Renee, he got second-degree burns where his skin was ripped out.
I won't say that's typical or it's not supposed to necessarily happen. However, there are different things that will impact your results. One, what did he do before the waxing? Whether it was laying out by the beach or going to the pool, hanging out, whether it was doing a lot of drinking before he came in to get his service. There are different things that can impact the results.
Thank you, ma'am. You are released. Thank you, Mr. Robbins. Mr. Ricci, I gotta ask you, were you drinking, taking medications? Did you go to the beach?
No, Your Honor.
Your Honor, may I present to you a disclosure form?
Sheriff, if you'll retrieve the disclosure form.
Thank you very much.
It reads, Wax Services Client Release Form. Number 1, have you ever been treated for skin cancer? You mark no.
Correct.
Number 6, are you exposed to the sun on a daily basis, or are you considering spending more time in the sun soon? You mark no.
Correct.
Number 7, do you use a tanning bed?
Listen.
You mark no, and then there's a signature next to the customer signature indication. Is that your signature, Mr. Ricci?
Your Honor, yes, that might be my signature.
So you lied.
How do you know he lied?
I have a witness who can corroborate my story.
And your witness is Miss Alice Roman.
That is correct.
Miss Roman, would you stand and come to the podium?
Absolutely.
What did Mr. Ricci lie about?
Well, I was in the waiting room with Mr. Ricci as he was talking on the phone very loudly. I wasn't trying to be nosy. And I overheard him saying that he was at the tanning bed prior to coming into the salon.
You went to the tanning bed, but you said no on the form?
I didn't even have time to really read them before they dragged me to the back, eager to get to their torturing.
So once again, you were not listening and not even reading the questions.
Folks, let me give you a legal lesson. Anytime you go into a business and they have you fill out an information packet or an application, it is very, very, very important that you be honest because they have to rely on your representation. Ms. Roman, you may be seated.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Gray, so your esthetician put the wax on her arm?
The esthetician actually tested his skin, Your Honor. And he did not complain. He did not say anything. Oh, my pain tolerance is average.
I think I've heard what I need to hear, and I'm ready to render my decision. Folks, in every personal injury case, the plaintiff has to prove really 3 things. You got to prove that the defendant was wrong. That's number 1. Number 2 is that that wrong caused your injuries. You've put up evidence here today that you totally relied on Elizabeth Gray's Salon to take the hair off your chest so you could go on this romantic journey with Debbie. Instead, the esthetician put the hot wax on your chest and ripped your skin off, changed your chest forever, and destroyed your opportunity, potentially for the love of your life. Ms. Gray, you've put up evidence today that your salon gave him several options, but he wasn't listening. He wanted this chest hair gone. He chose the hot wax. Your esthetician actually put it on his skin and asked him, is it too hot? When he didn't complain, she went forward with the procedure and he got burns. You've pointed out that he was not quite forthcoming on the application where he indicated that he had not been in a tanning bed. In fact, he had. Here, that collision of the evidence raises 2 legal principles. One is care for your own safety. You have a responsibility to take care of yourself long before you look to someone else to take care of you. Part of that is being truthful on the application form. The other legal principle is professional judgment. Although manscaping and hair removal is common, it is a profession. It's why estheticians have to be licensed. Here, that professional judgment involves not only application of the wax, but whether to do it in light of the circumstances. The expert witness put the wax on her own arm to see if it was hot. The evidence in this case, your esthetician tested the wax on his skin. Your salon is responsible for Mr. Ricci's injuries because your professional judgment is not relieved based on his misrepresentation. You still must exercise professional judgment in determining whether the wax is too hot or not. It is very simple. It was too hot, should not have been put on, it caused real injury. This is your fault. I find in favor of the plaintiff, and I'm going to award you a total award of $80,000 against Elizabeth Gray Salon. That's my final verdict, and this matter is adjourned.